humans more like chimpanzees or bonobos? That's such a fascinating discussion. He shows the stats in this that we're kind of in the middle to both. So chimps, you see, like that's a picture of a bonobo. Yeah. So they, if you're unfamiliar, they look just like to normal people, they look just like chimpanzees. But once you become familiar with the differences, you can actually tell they are like the nerdier. They're like the nerdier version. That's how he describes them as well. You see, if you place them side by side, chimps seem to be much more hench. They seem to be much more muscular. They seem to have a slightly wider jaw structure. And you can then tell, you see, once you can tell, you start, right, I see what you mean. They seem like the more nerdy type and they are, I mean, chimps are incredibly intelligent as well, but the bonobos are very intelligent in their own way. And they're both related to humans, but with similar degrees of variation. So it's like humans are in the middle to them both. And they are related to each other as well, but they're different. And it's interesting that the dialogue, which way do humans sway more towards? Is it chimpanzee behavior or bonobo behavior? And bonobos are fascinating. They're like, honestly, this book really opened my eyes to. He really deals with morality and bonobo tribes and how they do things, and they're very peaceful compared to the other primates, and they are matriarchal, which is interesting. I wonder if that's the determining factor. So their societies are run by the alpha female and not by the alpha male, even though bonobo males are physically bigger and stronger than the females, but yet their societies are matriarchal, and they resolve most of their conflicts through sex. It's it's like they are the only other species beyond humans who are so obsessed with sex. And they will, you see, if you put, so let's say he gives site studies of when they introduce a new tribe to bonobo tribes, and what they do is there'll be this minute of, or 1-2 minutes of this kind of like tension, that they'll just kind of just eye each other out, and then they'll just get together and have this huge orgy. And obviously it'll just be all kinds. So it's heterosexual, homosexual, everything, but not incestual. That was a fascinating point as well that they show, because people that have claimed that these things are socialized incest, and it's not inherent. It seems to be inherent within, all these wide variety of species, that they do not, that there's this taboo. But yeah, and then they'll just all get on and they'll be perfectly fine. It's like, wow, maybe humans can. And chimpanzees, you see, it's really fascinating what the author really goes into detail to show as well that, we have this image that chimpanzees are super cute, and they are, right? So, I mean, Zozo, she watches all these kind of YouTube channels where they have these pet chimpanzees at home. And they do look super cute, I have to say. They kind of dress up like humans, and they're like, really, they do all these things. But he highlights that it's these people that say that, oh, these chimpanzees are super cute, have never lived amongst or seen chimpanzees in their natural habitat. They are so brutal. And you could never, like he gives this example, how you could just introduce 2 tribes of bonobos. You could never do that with chimpanzees. There would be a full-blown war at such a gruesome level that they will do things like gorge the eyes out, rip the testicles off they will mutilate. They don't just, when they find an opposing chimp, they don't just beat him, they torture him to death. There's incidents that he cites where they will pick up these rocks and keep bashing him on his head till they crush his skull. I mean, they are like so brutal. And they can, the chimps, even bonobos, with the clench of a jaw, they can crush a bone. That's how much power, especially chimps, they have in their jaw. They have very sharp teeth, by the way. Chimpanzees do eat meat, but they infrequently do. They are omnivorous. They do have like these ruthless canines. If you see a chimpanzee and his kind of bite, it's ruthless. It can actually crack a bone. It does crack bones, but they only crack it off. They don't, when they have internal tribal fighting. So when they fight within the tribe, they won't. It shows that they, even when they hate the other person, they're still exercising some restraint, because they don't crack bones and things. They'll beat up the other member and beat him up even bad. But even when they're beating him up bad, they usually won't crush his bone. So it shows that they're exercising some kind of self-restraint. But when they find a member of another tribe, they are ruthless beyond measure. And it's so much that I think humans can learn from how these primates behave, but within their own community, the structures they have and the rules and the laws, it's fascinating. We got to discuss this tomorrow on the book club. It's like, wow, honestly. You learn that how they recognize fairness, for example, first-hand fairness, how they get upset if they're being treated unfairly, and how their memories of when they hurt someone, even years later, they remember it, and how they take care of their sick and they take care of their elderly, and how they run a campaign to become the next alpha. And it's amazing. And even how fear of consequences are so crucial to them, for the community to prosper. There has to be this fear of consequence. And it's interesting that when the alpha male goes out, so he will, let's say in certain settings where the alpha has left for a while, then all the other males start their things, and they start all playing up, and then they go and they start mating or trying to mate, but and flashing their privates. But what they will do is, in between, they'll stop and they'll go and check, is the alpha back? And he's not back, and they'll carry on. And then they'll keep, like, after every 10 minutes, they'll go and check, has he come back? And when he comes back, they do this kind of this sense of this kind of flattery of trying to welcome him, like, hey, and they'll go and pet him, and like they're so wowed by shabashi, the chamchagiri. It's amazing, honestly. I think it's so wow, the intelligence they have as well, and that they have the self-restraint of a child, a human child. So a monkey will give up a banana to have a better banana or a better reward, but he will give it up if he's told, like, okay, don't eat this banana, but we'll give you more. And he understands that, and he has to but this banana is in front of him, and he has to self-restrain. They can self-restrain for about 18 minutes, they found, which is about the maximum for a child as well. And so and then after that, he's like, forget that. It's like, let's just eat this. But on some things, they display much more intelligence than a child. You see, so when a monkey was given a scenario, like the bonobos, when he was given a scenario where he's put in a room and there's some food, but he can't reach it, and he needs to devise a plan to reach it. So he's trying to come up with but there's no tools there. And then later on, he's given a tool. He would choose the right tool to go and reach it. But what was interesting, better than that, was when the monkey was later on given a tool, and there was no hanging fruit, but he was given a choice between the tool or fruit. He chose the tool and put it away for a future scenario where he may find hanging food. So he's planning. But whereas a human infant wouldn't do that. So it's fascinating, the sense of how they have a sense of this planning, and how they sense wrongdoing when they know they've done something wrong, by the way. That's fascinating. Like how a chimp would. So one chimp that's taken away, and it could see the other chimps, although they're not there, but they are, they're out there, and they can look in through the glass and they can see this chimp. And the chimp is doing tasks and receiving a reward. So he keeps receiving the reward, but then he can see the other chimps are watching him. So then the chimp in this case, stop taking the rewards, but it continued to do the task. But when given the reward, wouldn't take it, because it knew that the other chimps could see it, and they would see this as being unfair. So when he goes back, they're gonna batter him. so he would just refuse. But when they offered the fruits also to the other chimps and this chimp, then it ate it. It's amazing, honestly. I think, wallahi, Allah says in the Quran that, go, travel, look into nature, learn, observe. أَفَلَا يَنْظُرُونَ إِلَى الْإِبِلِ. Don't they look at this? Don't they look at the camel? Look at animals. Allah says that أُمَمٌ أَمْثَالُكُمْ. They are like civilizations that mirror you in certain ways. Allah. Yeah, so fascinating.